We're lions, and that ain't ever gonna change. Hello, my name is Will, and this is Exploding Helicopter, the podcast that likes to review films where helicopters have fallen. Now, it's fair to say that hopes weren't high for Angel Has Fallen. After the grimly efficient uber-violence of Olympus Has Fallen and the gleeful xenophobia of London Has Fallen, the film looked to a lot of people like a last desperate cash grab before the series was consigned to the scrap heap. An impression only heightened by news that the film had a slimmed-down budget and scaled-down cast. So, to help me work out if this film should be called Standards Has Fallen, I'm joined by a man of unimpeachable quality, except no substitute. It's the real Todd Gaines of Letterboxd and Bulletproof Action fame. Welcome to the show, Todd.
Hey, Will. Thank you so much for having me on the Exploding Helicopter podcast.
No, it's great to have you on here because we've been talking a little bit online, and I'm big fan of Bulletproof Action, and I've been following your reviews on Letterboxd for a while now. So it's great to have you on the show and be able to chat to you in person.
Oh yeah, this is definitely a dream come true, man, because I love doing podcasts. I love writing for Bulletproof Action, and best thing that come out of Bulletproof Action was we started the Bulletproof podcast, and so now I'm taking my I wouldn't say my talent on I'm just here, but I'm definitely excited to get this going, man, and I think we picked a very interesting film to talk about.
Yeah, I reckon we have. So I'm looking forward to this discussion. But before we got stuck into the film in particular, I thought it might be interesting just to kick things off with a little bit of a look at Gerard Butler, who is obviously the star of the Has Fallen franchise, and in recent years he's established himself as an action lead in a pretty cluttered landscape. And yeah, I wondered what you thought of Gerard Butler as an action star, and what you think he brings to the table.
Well, one thing he definitely brings to the table is the fact that he probably hasn't stopped drinking at happy hour at the local pub since about 2005, because let's see, 2006 everything kicks off with 300. He comes this macho man, but man, this man,
he enjoys life, doesn't he?
He enjoys life. He enjoys you guys say pint, I say yeah. He definitely drinks a bottle of how many? He's probably never met an alcoholic beverage he didn't like. He's definitely rugged. He's got that rough look, and he almost looks like a bad guy in a lot of sense. But at the same time, he's almost like in a league of his own, because he's not the what's the good word for Tom Cruise besides the ageless wonder.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, he's not the sort of super slick ageless wonder that's Tom Cruise. He equally isn't sort of one of these sort of square-jawed, sort of chiseled sort of heroes, or he's not one of these super slick martial artists. So I mean, he's definitely his own thing, because he's got that rough and ready look. He's definitely got some charm about him as well, because before he developed his or alongside sort of his early action career, he was very regularly popping up in a lot of romantic comedies. So clearly he could also sort of hold his own as a romantic lead and play off some comedy as well. So he's got some interesting strings to his bows, which I don't think many other action stars can really point to.
And too, like with his career in the rom-com, you could easily trick like your lady friends into watching, Olympus Has Fallen with you. Show them, show them what is that? The Ugly Truth with Katherine Heigl. They're both on Netflix. Watch one. Hey, babe, we watched this one. What about you like this guy? Let's watch the other one. He was also maybe in like P.S. I Love You or something. One of those like god awful like I'm about to die movies.
And it was something Playing for Keeps as well with I think it's Catherine Zeta-Jones. There might be somebody else in. Yeah, it's like a football sports romantic rom-com. So
yeah, I mean how he did all of those movies, and now he is the the almost the go-to guy
Mm.
that we go to for these. Yeah, he was in P.S. I Love You with Hillary Swank. So wow, I mean, what a transformation, really.
Yeah, the only other action star who I think, has covered those bases as well as Gerard Butler is maybe Bruce Willis, because obviously he started out in Moonlighting, which was,
Oh,
very, light entertainment, mystery fare, played a lot on the kind of romantic chemistry between him and Sybil Shepherd. But, I can't think of sort of many other action stars who have, yeah, who kind of, maybe only Bruce Willis for me is the only other one who's sort of, covered those two bases in the same way that Gerard Butler has.
and what's even incredibly more insane is when Gerard Butler did Olympus Has Fallen, which is a Die Hard at the White House. It's a Die Hard
Yeah.
clone movie. So I guess they're following the same career path. I'm just wondering what Gerard Butler's color of night is going to be. Because Bruce decided, hey, let's go full Bruce Willis in the shower and color night. So Gerard might be like, hey man, yeah, I got to copy Bruce, so we'll see.
Well, let's just hope that he doesn't copy the current incarnation of Bruce Willis and
Oh
start.
my
start,
goodness! Could you
start,
imagine lazy Gerard Butler? Because when I review like new Bruce Willis movies, I have the lazy Bruce Willis meter and like how lazy is Bruce? And did Gerard actually pick up when he starts being lazy? Did Gerard pick up a knife? Did he just drink? I mean, yeah. Let's hope his career does not go the same. I mean, he can. Let's keep making these movies for another few years at least before he gets lazy.
Well, I for one hope that he does keep making these good movies and doesn't start just collecting paychecks in the way that Bruce does. So let's I think we've teed up the film quite nicely. So let's get stuck into Angel Has Fallen. So let's see if some judiciously cut together snippets of dialogue can outline the plot for us.
There's been an assassination attempt on the president.
Mike Banning, you're being charged with the attempted murder of the President of the United States.
The president's top guardian angel has fallen.
Can't you see that I'm being set up?
You have a collect call from
Mike. Body's cold, time is frozen.
We've been getting death threats.
There's somebody else behind us. It wasn't me. The president's not safe. They're gonna try and finish the job. And I'm not gonna stop until I prove who did this. I love you.
How did you find me?
I want security for the president. How do you think, Dad? I need your help.
Gerard Butler once again finds himself in the centre of bullet-strewn bedlam after an assassination attempt on the president. Awaking in a hospital, Big Jez quickly learns that his entire team are dead, POTUS is in a coma, and he's the FBI's chief suspect in the attempted hit. Inevitably, it's not long before Jezza escapes and goes on the run in order to clear his name. Along the way, he has to work out who's masterminding the conspiracy, avoid the team of mercenaries hunting him down, and reconnect with his estranged father, all while trying to work out if he's going to take a desk job at work. Alongside Butler in this one, we have series stalwart Morgan Freeman, who here has been promoted from vice president to president. Alongside him, there are roles for Danny Huston, Piper Perabo, Lance Reddick, and Nick Nolte. In the director's chair for this one is stuntman turned filmmaker Rick Roman Waugh. There's a variety of screenwriting credits here, but the name that jumps out is Robert Mark Kamen, a real veteran screenwriter of action cinema and the man behind such films as Taken, The Transporter, and the great, fantastic Karate Kid. Angel Has Fallen has a 6.2 rating on IMDb, and rather interestingly, it's got a very high audience rating on Rotten Tomatoes, 93%. So interesting sort of disparity there between the two websites. But with all of that out of the way, Todd, what did you make of Angel Has Fallen?
The number one thing is our hero Mike Banning has no business even being in it. After all the stuff this man has been through these first two movies, how in the world is he even functioning? Like, you've heard the term functioning alcoholic. someone that drinks all the time and who can like still live or whatever. But this man has been beaten, shot, punched. I mean, fought the whole country in North Korea. He's saved the president countless times. He's having all these headaches. He's going to all these doctors now. His body is finally catching up with him, and it's almost amazing that we even have a third film. And what's even more amazing about this third film is it's actually pretty damn good. That is the thing that's really the surprising thing to me is we're gonna have this film that's gonna be more character focused. Looks like we're gonna care about these guys, and at the same time, because of the director, we're gonna have some great action too mixed in.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with you because, as I sort of alluded to in my introduction, I kind of went into this film thinking that this might just be a sort of a bit of a cash grab, a kind of one last go round before this series was consigned to the scrap heap. But when I came out of viewing this film, I was really, really pleasantly surprised by this, and it is a fantastic action thriller by any standards. And in the run up to the release of this film, we'd had the news about the reduced budget for this film. It's about half the budget of Olympus Has Fallen. We'd had the news that a lot of the garlanded actors who had been in Olympus Has Fallen, a lot of them, Melissa Leo, Oscar winner, Robert Forster, Oscar nominated, a lot of those actors weren't coming back. So this film did look, a bit like, okay, can we squeeze a bit more cash out of the Has Fallen franchise? But actually, they've turned in what, could well be the best film in the entire series.
Yeah, it definitely proves that you don't need a huge budget to make a great action film. You just need I would say, a smart budget. And definitely, Angel Has Fallen is just a smartly written film. So we can say smartly acted. And once again, like the action, I mean, they definitely spent the money in the right places. I guess maybe craft services got maybe they just didn't have as good of meals on set or maybe they say, hey, you just hang out at the pub and we will call you when we need you to come on set. And then, Morgan Freeman, but he said he did all three of these films for the paycheck. So I don't know, maybe they're like, okay, Morgan, can we just only give you half of what we got you the first time? And he's probably like, well, money's money. I guess I'll take it. But
yeah, and I think you've mentioned one of the strongest aspects of this film, and you mentioned that this is a very character-driven film, and I think that for me is this film's strongest asset, and I think it really makes it stand out from the other two films because for me personally, when I watch an action film, I like to care about the characters and I like to be invested in what their goal is, what they're trying to achieve. Some of these action films, they have very flimsy pretext for what's happening in the film, and the action might be more spectacular. The fight scenes might be more elaborate, but if I don't care about the characters, care about their mission, then that just becomes, those films just become very sort of academic exercises for me. And whilst I can appreciate the kind of the skill of the choreography, if I don't actually care why Gerard Butler is punching somebody, then that film is always going to I'm just always going to mark that film down. And I can think of lots of other films where perhaps the action isn't as big, the action isn't as intense, but I enjoy those films much more because I just care about what's happening within the movie. And I think Angel Has Fallen succeeds really well in making you care about what's happening within the film.
Yeah, and we also even care about Mike's wife a little bit this time, and I think it's just from the recasting. I think they originally had like Radha Mitchell, or you probably know her best, Radha Mitchell from Pitch Black, which I mean she was cool in Pitch Black, I guess, but now we've kind of upped the ante with Piper from Coyote Ugly, and Mike's I guess we'll say an upgrade in his wife, and
He's definitely got a younger model.
Yeah,
now.
he's got a younger wife. He's got like a daughter now, and I believe in the second film, did he find out he was going to be a father?
Yeah,
They all run.
we
Yeah,
do.
they
Yeah,
run
we
together.
I think we see the baby at the very end of the film.
Okay, okay,
So they
okay.
kind of tee
Because
that up there.
yeah, all these things run together. So he's now a family man. He's caring more because in the first film he just cares about his job. I mean, it's like he's married to his job and he just happens to have this side chick that works at the hospital as the nurse, but that's his wife. But now we're seeing, okay, here's a man that's, I mean, really, like you said, he's at a point where what am I going to do? I mean, I can't imagine Gerard Butler, Mike Bannon being at a desk, working a desk job. But I mean, what's he going to do? I mean, unless the bar is open like 24 hours, he can go and take a break. But he's not the guy that's going to stay to a desk. I mean,
He'd
but
probably start attacking his secretary with a stapler. He'd probably like start stapling her in the head or something.
bring me your bring me my stapler, and then all of a sudden he knifes somebody in the forehead. Because, but I mean, just bless everybody who was able to come together to just make this film work, because it probably shouldn't have worked. This sequel shouldn't have been as entertaining as it was, because like we said, they cut the budget, they took out most of the known actors, but it goes to show that maybe, hey, Gerard Butler can carry a movie on his back.
Well, let's dig a little bit into some of the reasons how this film perhaps turned out as well as it did. And I think a large part of, or a good chunk of that credit has to go perhaps to the director, Rick Roman Waugh. As I mentioned in the introduction, he's a stuntman turned filmmaker. He has made 8 or 9 films now. So he's made things like Shot Caller, Snitch with Dwayne Johnson. He's also made Felon. And, this is kind of his highest profile film to date. Now, Todd, in my prep for this, I knew you were kind of familiar with Rick Roman Waugh's work here. So, I kind of, I mean, what do you see his stamp in this film?
Well, here's the first thing about him is, are you depressed? If you answered yes, just watch one of his films. and it might, you might say, hey, my life's not as bad, because Shot Caller, man, I mean, as intense of a movie, everything that goes on in Shot Caller, there's no way that I want to sit down and ever watch Shot Caller again, even though I liked it, man, because it was so
bleak, wasn't it?
Yes, bleak. I mean, it definitely makes you want to drink or whatever, because you're just depressed. And then if you look at Snitch, another movie that one thing that was kind of cool about Snitch was Barry Pepper's beard. I really liked Barry Pepper's, this intense DEA agent that's kind of watching The Rock lay the smack down on people. And but then again, just like these movies are definitely first drama, and then you have action. And so, but if you look at Rick's past, like as stunt work in like one of my favorite films of all time, Rapid Fire, or like Universal Soldier, or Striking Distance. So he has that background in stunts. He has that background in action, and he also writes. He writes the films he directs. So now we're getting this perfect come together of, okay, here's a guy who knows how to write. He knows how to do drama, but he also knows how to do action. But now he has Gerard Butler in his corner, and he has Morgan Freeman in his corner. So, hey, let's get these big boys together, and let's make a film that's not only action, not only drama, but it's smart. And one of the reasons I think it works so much, of course, Gerard Butler, of course, Morgan Freeman, but we're also bringing in like Nick Nolte to steal this movie, because without Nick Nolte, I mean, it'd still be good, but Nick Nolte, he should have been nominated for Academy Award, man. Come on. He was that good. I mean, he owns this
Mm.
movie. I mean, if I was a member of the Academy, which I don't think I'll ever be invited to be a member, but I would have been campaigning super hard for Nick Nolte Best Supporting Actor, or at least a BAFTA, right? We
Mm.
can at least give him a BAFTA.
Oh, definitely. And we were talking a little bit before, and you mentioned the fact that that Nick Nolte, they're playing a lot on sort of Nick Nolte's actual real life persona with his character in this film. So I mean, yeah, do you want to just say what you meant by that?
Oh, guys, listen. If you don't know, Nick Nolte had an infamous mugshot a few years ago, and his hair is just wild. I mean, he looked like he, spent about 3 years straight drinking or partying, and they're just gonna say, "Hey, Nick, there's no need to act in this, man. Just be yourself. Come here. Just say what you would normally say on any given day." And Nick probably grunted a few times, like, can I pee in a pool? And they're like, Nick, if you stay the entire film, I promise you, at the end of the shoot, we'll let you pee in the pool or in water. We'll let you take a pee in water if you come and work on this film. And you know what, Nick? We're not even going to give you a lot of lines. We're not even going to give you a lot of scenes. We're going to just give you a few scenes. You don't even have to come to work every day. The other days you can just do what Nick Nolte does best. And then Nick Nolte probably looked up and was like, well, if I do that, I'm going to be in an alcoholic coma. But it works, man. It really does. And bless Nick Nolte. I mean, he's been acting for just a long time. And, go back to watch, like 48 Hours. Like, I try to watch that movie every chance I get, just go back and revisit. He's might have led a rough life, but I'm just so glad he has led a rough life because he brings everything to the table. And
yeah, it's got that authenticity with all that sort of life experience that we know that he's had, and he's Nick Nolte. He plays Gerard Butler's father in this film. He's a cat. The two of them have been estranged for many years, and Nick Nolte's character is this sort of Vietnam veteran who's now sort of suffering from PTSD, and he kind of can't function in normal life anymore, and he's essentially sort of opted out of society. So we meet him sort of living off the grid here, in the kind of in some sort of a cabin in the woods with strangely that cabin still has electricity. Don't know. I won't worry too much about where that came from, but that feeds into some of the fact that what we were saying about this film being very much more sort of character driven. So the film spends some time on the relationship between Butler and Nick Nolte, and the fact that these are two men who have served their countries in different ways, and who two men who are now having to live with the physical and psychological scars and trauma of that experience. And it allows the film to actually sort of make some serious nods towards the kind of the consequences of of a life of violence, or of serving your country. And it kind of it's a little bit more, those are sort of some more thoughtful elements that I don't think we have seen in the previous Has Fallen films.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. War is hell, no matter what. And with Nolte's character in Vietnam, a tunnel rat, one of just the hardest jobs for any soldier. And he just couldn't take it after he got home. He couldn't take it. He left his family, he abandoned his family. And so now we're looking at Gerard Butler, who is a new father. He doesn't, he keeps stuff from his wife. He doesn't tell her about, what's really going on. What about the headaches? So is he going to go down, this same path of, would he possibly abandon his family, abandon his child, abandon his wife? And, he's got this past with his father he hadn't spoken to in years. And so it definitely opens up a book. And, I mean, we learn as the film goes on that, okay, it's probably not going to be like that, but it definitely could have. If this did not happen, he might have gone down that route that he could have turned into his father.
And it's and it also adds an element of vulnerability to Gerard Butler's character, because in the first film, he comes across as a bit of a sort of Terminator-like killing machine, and he's similarly like that in London Has Fallen. But here, because we see him, dealing with these psychological problems, there's this element of, okay, we know. Butler is fighting for what's right here, but it adds that element of uncertainty as to whether he is gonna make it through to the end of the film. I mean, we kind of know obviously that he is, because it's not it's never going to be that movie, but it helps you suspend your disbelief as about could this guy, is he going to succeed or not?
Yeah, definitely. He's definitely has all the cards stacked against him. We still need to figure out where he learned to drive that 18-wheeler, that big rig truck. I mean, I guess when you're Gerard Butler and Mike Bannon, I mean, this awesome, just kick-ass, unstoppable machine, somewhere along the line, but you stop for a second to go to truck driver training school and learn, because, man, I mean, could you imagine just, being on the run and just had to drive one of those on the fly, and they're like, no, that ain't gonna work for me. You just got to catch me. There's just.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can overlook these type of contrivances in the film. It's fun. It's always fun to spot them. But I think we can safely sort of turn a blind eye to that one. But just to sort of come back to how this film sort of turned out to be quite as character driven as it was. I was doing a little bit of research on this movie, and for people who have long memories, they might remember some of the advanced publicity for this film outlined the plot as basically being all set on Air Force One. So I think it was, much like the Harrison Ford film, it was going to be sort of, terrorists taking over Air Force One and Butler saving the day. Now, obviously, the plot of this one is completely different from that. And apparently, Gerard Butler was unhappy with the original script, and he called in Robert Mark Kamen to do a rewrite to try and fix the problem. Now, apparently, Robert Mark Kamen, he obviously decided he couldn't fix the problem, so came up with a completely fresh story. And reading the sort of the interview with him, he was at pains to make this a more sort of trying to focus on the sort of like the key elements of Butler's character. So I think in terms of acknowledging where the sort of the credit lies for this film being quite as strong as it is, I think definite credit to Rick Roman Waugh, because we've seen with his previous films the type of movies that he likes to make. But I think we also need to give some credit to Butler for recognizing there's something wrong with the original script, and for Robert Mark Kamen for coming up with a different putting a bit more of a sort of personal slant on the story.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that would have made this script even better is if we somehow could have incorporated Cobra Kai, the members of Cobra Kai into this film, because definitely the script is very strong. And I mean, like you said, like, how many action films can we say, hey, look at this script, look what these guys go through, and it actually be like a strong point of the action movie with and plus it also has great action. And when you have that mix, that's almost a guaranteed success. And two, like, I guess, like, when audiences go to a movie, why do we go to the movies? Because we want to be entertained. Well, when people went to go see Angel Has Fallen, they were probably entertained with the action. And they're also, hey, I like these characters. I care about these characters. So kudos to everybody involved for making a very entertaining film.
So I'm gonna put you on the spot here, Todd. So
Oh,
yeah,
I didn't sign up for this. This is not in my
I, yeah.
contract. This is not in my contract, but we'll
So
try. We'll
I can
try.
see that bead of sweat now, kind of
Okay.
trickling down your forehead as the
Okay.
as the pressure goes on. But
Oh man. Okay.
what I wanted
Okay.
you to do was to basically, kind of, we got three of these films in the Has Fallen series now.
Okay.
Was to basically rank them for me. So to tell me how, where do you see Angels Fallen? How
Ooh.
does that stack up against the other two that we've got?
Oh, okay. Overall film, just because of the drama and the action, and that you give a damn, I'm gonna say Angels Fallen is the number one film, followed by one of the better Die Hard ripoffs of all time, Olympus Has Fallen. Olympus Has Fallen is just nonstop brutal action. So it's gonna be number two today. Number three, I mean somebody's got to be last. Even though London Has Fallen, is some people might criticize some of the generalizations that they make about certain people, but I could say, look, that I'm entertained by that movie as well. So even though it's last place, it's still a winner in my book, but it's going to be number three.
I would heartily commend your rankings there, Todd. I couldn't disagree with them. And they're pretty much how I would, well, they are how I would rank these films myself. I think, as you've alluded to, I think, it might be, I could see myself maybe in a year's time, maybe, I rewatch Olympus Has Fallen, and maybe that suddenly moves up, and, maybe I go back to London Has Fallen, and, suddenly that I maybe bump that up to number two. But I don't, I think this is they've actually produced three very sort of consistently sort of high quality movies in this series. And rumor has it, I think, Angels Fallen sort of, it seemed to surprise even the people who made it with, actually did some very good business. And they're now actually sort of talking about, potentially, this might be slightly reckless talk. One of the producers was even talking about making 4, 5, and 6. Now, I don't know if they'll get that far down the line, but
now hold up. Okay, we got to at least have one scene with Nick Nolte and Morgan Freeman peeing somewhere, taking a pee, and maybe they're fishing, maybe they're so let them bond, and they're both old and nature calls, so maybe they just take a piss on the at the lake or whatever. But you got to get them at least once. You got to at least have them meet. They have to meet, and they have to have a conversation. And I can only imagine how that conversation is going to go. It's probably going to be hilarious. Let's try to sell that to everybody else. I mean, I would definitely watch it. I mean that's I want at least a part 4. I mean, this once we get through all this COVID, and I hope everybody out there is listening, staying safe, all that good stuff. But once we get through all this COVID stuff, let's get back to making just awesome action. And I think to start it off, we could easily make a sequel. And the good thing is they won't be spending as much money because they know how to spend it. They know how to budget their films. And I really would. I don't know what would happen, but I'm sure we have the same writer, same director. It's going to be the first film with the same director. So a little bit, everybody's comfortable working together. We could really have something good.
Well, even if we don't get a fourth Has Fallen film, it does look like Gerard Butler and Rick Roman Waugh are going to be continuing their sort of collaborations, because Waugh is the director of this sort of new thriller that will probably eventually get released in cinemas, COVID permitting, called Greenland. And I think they've recently announced that they're also going to be working on a film called Kandahar, some sort of set in Afghanistan, as the name suggests. Don't know too many other details about that, but it's interesting to see that they clearly like working together, and have got these other projects coming down the pipe for us.
or at least they like drinking together. So,
It could just be it could just be as simple as that. I mean,
yes.
who knows? There's been stranger things have happened in the world of Hollywood. So I think we should take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be looking at the exploding helicopter action.
On the Simplistic Reviews podcast, we talk movies. We talk TV. We talk.
Hello, Julie, what the heck are you doing?
Trying to make our spots sound more exciting by adding explosions.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could have got the point across with sound effects, not the real thing. Car.
Download the show on iTunes or at simplisticreviews.blogspot.com.
I'm sure your insurance company will cover that.
No, they won't.
No, they probably won't.
We're back, and now we're looking at the exploding helicopter action, and there's a couple of chopper fireballs to look at here. The first occurs during the failed presidential assassination. A flock of drones swarm on POTUS's fishing trip, and they smash into Marine One, the presidential helicopter, causing it to explode, and also they destroy two Osprey V-22 helicopters as well at the same time. Then at the climax of the film, we get Danny Huston, who's the villain of the piece. He's looking to make his getaway in a helicopter. He's all set to escape in this chopper that's landed on the roof of an office building. Unfortunately for him, Gerard Butler turns up with some sort of gun grenade launcher combo. I'm not a weapons expert, God knows what that actually is, and fires off an explosive round, blows up the whirlybird. Todd, what did you make of the exploding helicopter action here?
Well, first off, a couple things. I can never watch another film again without paying attention to exploding helicopters. So thank you so much for that. And also the name of the gun, I'm just going to call it a big gun because I mean I know things like who's nude and what movie. Everything about exploding helicopters. I know who's naked and what scene and what film and what magazine they're in or whatever. But we both agree that we're not experts at naming weapons. But I can definitely rate these helicopter explosions. And the first one, I think, is kind of like just a blink and you miss it almost, unless you're just, hey, I'm watching for exploding helicopters because I have a website and podcast with almost 100 episodes dedicated to exploding helicopters. So I'm just going to say it's a nice explosion, but it's just middle of the road because it's a hit or miss. So we'll just give it a 5. But a 5 out of 10. But that final explosion it's at the climax of the film. And Mr. Mustache Man, I don't know if you noticed Danny Huston's henchman. He's played by actor Frederick Schmidt or something like that. But man, that mustache stole so many scenes. Guys, if you're listening to this podcast, go back, watch this film, watch this man's mustache, and let us know if if it kept your attention like it kept mine. But the way he looks, Danny looks like you're about to shoot me. Like Danny Huston thinks he's about to get shot by his own man. No, Gerard Butler's about to blow that dude up with a big gun. And man, I don't want to give it a 10 because that'd be saying that I saw the greatest helicopter explosion ever. But I'm still waiting for the greatest helicopter explosion ever because if we set our sights on having perfection now, we might be disappointed later. So I'm just giving it a 9 out of 10, and saying it's one of the best helicopter explosions I've ever seen in an action film.
Wow, high praise indeed. Yeah. High praise indeed. But
yes.
Starting with the first ones that we see in this film, I'm with you. I mean, they are pretty underwhelming. They're part of a pretty spectacular action sequence, but the helicopters that we see get destroyed, I mean, they're just like collateral damage. And as a fan of helicopters exploding, I like them to be a bit more of the center of attention than we get to see them in that part of the film. However, the one at the end of the movie I thought was terrific, and the exploding helicopter actually announces that Gerard Butler, who in a scene earlier we'd seen him narrowly escape death by a grenade, and suddenly Danny Huston's looking to make his getaway. He's about to escape. Suddenly this helicopter explodes, and that's what the camera pans around and we see Gerard Butler, and it's that exploding helicopter that announces that Gerard Butler is still in the fight, and the battle is still on. So I really enjoyed how the helicopter explosion was used here, and also the wreckage, the carcass of this helicopter provides a bit of a haunting backdrop to the knife fight that we get to see between Butler and Huston at the end of this movie. So I thought the way that helicopter not only exploded, but then also just how it was integrated into the story and the action, I thought was really terrific, and I enjoyed it immensely.
Man, that's just high praise, man. I mean, I think you enjoy exploding helicopters like I enjoy hot looking nude women in movies, man. So I mean, I think we're on the same page, brother. It's all good.
I had some faulty socialization when I was a teenager. That's why I'm all about the exploding helicopters.
And I grew up watching Joe Bob Briggs through on the movie channel through the squiggly lines. So that's was my teen years, and that it just hasn't left me since. So
before we part, I should point out a little bit of exploding helicopter trivia for those that are interested. And if you're listening, I mean, you must be interested. Otherwise, why else are you here? But Marine One, the presidential helicopter, we get to see that blow up in this film. It's not the first time that we've seen the presidential chopper be blown up in a movie. So we've seen them be blown up in Independence Day and the Naughty's Michael Douglas thriller The Sentinel. So not a unique moment in cinema history for exploding helicopters, but it's part of a small but perfectly formed sort of number of films where we get to see POTUS's chopper explode.
Hey, thank you once again for reminding me that the Sentinel even existed. So I'd forgotten all about that one.
Yeah, I quite like that movie, actually. Michael Douglas has to do some sort of MacGyvering type detection in order to sort of get himself out of the situation that he's in. So it's quite a fun film. I wouldn't mind doing that on the podcast at some point. But
hey, cool, yeah.
Well, maybe I'll sign you up for that, Todd.
Hey, yeah, remember it's not talent, but it's on air. So.
Okay, well, I think that just about wraps things up for this show. Todd, do you want to take a moment to tell people where they can find you online?
Sure. First and foremost, Bulletproof Action, bulletproofaction.com, on Twitter, Bulletproof Action. That's your trusted source for all things action. I think I actually came up with that a slogan. Is our site's great writers, Chris the Brain, Chad Cruz. They've been doing the site now for 6 years. I joined it last year, and it's like the coolest. It's just a great bunch of guys. So if you like to read like action reviews, that we're just just guys that love action movies. Check us out on that. You can check out my personal Twitter. That's Real Todd Gaines. If you want to talk anything, man, I'm always open to talk about movies or whatever. Have a Instagram. It might be called Todd Gaines Talks. It's just random posters of movies sometimes, and I have a YouTube channel that's pretty much dead, but it's called Todd Gaines Talks as well. It's got a few different things, and of course, one or two people might know me from Letterboxd, and I have a Letterboxd. Just search, go there, letterboxd.com, search Todd Gaines, and my awesome avatar will pop up. And if you want to follow, give me a follow. And speaking of Letterboxd, thank you so much for the mention in your interview with Letterboxd when you mentioned who you should follow in Letterboxd, and you mentioned me first, and I want to say thank you. And if Letterboxd ever asked me to do that, I would definitely mention you first as well, because you thanks again for that mention. I really appreciate that, brother.
Not at all. It was my pleasure, and big fan of what you and the rest of the guys do over at Bulletproof Action, and always like to see your reviews on Letterboxd, because you've steered me towards and steered me away from some movies, and appreciate your sort of your take on film. So yeah, I would heartily recommend anyone listening go and check out Todd. Go and check out what the other guys over at Bulletproof Action do. Yeah, and if you're a Letterboxd user, yeah, give Todd a follow, because he'll steer you towards some really good stuff. So as always, don't forget to check out the Exploding Helicopter website for reviews of films where helicopters explode. If you can rate, review, or retweet, we'd be super grateful. We'll be back soon, but until then, keep watching the skies for those exploding helicopters.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.